Okay, so One Punch Man fans, the anime for season 3 has begun, and fans are very, very much so angry. It's like the entire community of One Punch Man fans and anime fans alike are just going crazy over what's going on with One Punch Man. We gotta talk about it. One Piece and Dragon Ball fans, the creator of One Piece, Eiichiro Oda, recently spoke regarding Dragon Ball, and in particular regarding Akira Toriyama, the late great legend. It was a pretty sentimental message, so I figured I'd share it with you. Demon Slayer fans, there's a whole bunch of stuff yet again to talk about regarding Demon Slayer. Well, a major celebrity just decided to jump out there and start hating on anime, so we gonna definitely address it. And we got so much more to talk about in this exciting episode of Forever News, the only news source that provides anything and everything anime and manga related, and we don't bore you. We get into it. Let's do it. And before we continue, if you would hit that subscribe button and that bell, I'd greatly appreciate it. You'd get updated on the world of anime and manga, and I would be able to let you know what's happening in the world of anime and manga. Okay, so to get things started, One Punch Man fans, One Punch Man Season 3 has officially begun, and the internet is somewhat in an outrage about what's happening with One Punch Man, in particular regarding the premiere episode of One Punch Man, not the recap episode that came out last week, but the one that just was released, where essentially people are criticizing the quote-unquote lack of animation, or the lack of presence of animation for that matter, in the latest season of One Punch Man. And right here I got a list of, apparently these are some of the biggest criticisms that One Punch Man faces currently right now with this season 3. But I gotta say, from what I've seen thus far, haven't checked out the full-on episode yet. Ultimately, I will say this, because I want to start off, I guess, with some of the positives. The art that I have seen that they've showcased, it does look really beautiful. Apparently people are even hating on that, because one of the key artists that they got working on the anime was apparently coming from a hentai background. And yet, with all of that being said, that is one of the most best things that I've seen of people actually liking, is the fact that the art looks beautiful. And I want to kind of add that with the fact that one of the big things that people always criticize the OG Berserk anime from, I think it was like the early 2000s, was the fact that the animation was not great, but the art looked beautiful. And that's pretty much what I'm seeing for the most part. The same concept with One Punch Man is the fact that the art looks beautiful, but there's a very massive shortage of animation. And yeah, I think at the very least you got to give some type of credits where they're due. I do think that the director is doing the best that he possibly can, and pretty much there's been word circulating on the fact that it's not necessarily even to blame JC staff for this one. Remember that this is, yes, the animation studio, but the budgets and things of that nature that allow for these things to get done come from the higher ups, essentially above JC staff's even pay grade themselves. So I just wanted to throw that in there, because there's a lot of hate and criticism coming towards One Punch Man Season 3, and there are some bright spots that I do want to point out. But with that being said, here's the list of the major complaints, for the most part, that One Punch Man Season 3 Episode 1 has faced thus far. Fans calling out the episode's lack of animation and lifeless visuals. Many fans pointed out that most scenes look like still images with only basic zoom in or pan movements. One user wrote, "There's absolutely no animation, just still shots moving side to side. It feels like voiced manga panels." Others criticized the pacing, calling it horrendous and saying characters look stiff and unnatural. One frustrated fan added, "This is one of the most popular manga with a massive fan base. How do they justify cheaping out on animation?" And I'm definitely going to point out the fact that One Punch Man deserves a massive budget, considering the fact that, one, the source material and the story itself is really awesome and epic. Two, it has some of the most epic and iconic battles that you're going to get out of manga, where Murata just made the most gorgeous art and the most epic art, alongside, of course, these epic battles that one penned. So for the budget that has been handed to them, is kind of like, bruh, they deserve the world. The source material is so good, it makes me again go back to like literature that is just highly acclaimed, that unfortunately for whatever reason up until this point at the very least hasn't been captivated with the animation and art that is rightfully so deserved. But again, this is me speaking from a perspective of seeing some, images, a few pieces of animation, and ultimately what the internet is having to say. I'm going to once again stick to One Punch Man is a favorite of mine, and going to go into this one whenever I start to watch it to enjoy it, regardless of whatever comes with it, even if, let's just say, it's not at the level that I would have liked, because I waited a long time for this. this. And one other aspect that I want to add in is the fact that it does make me kind of wonder what's going on. I remember a while back, Murata had taken it into his hands himself and started to work on animating things himself. And I was like, yo, that's just so epic to see like a creative really take this whole thing into their own hands and really start to make something out of it. So to see from then when Murata was actually working on understanding animation and putting things together, essentially being like a producer and a creative all wrapped in one while still working on the One Punch Man manga. And we know how incredibly talented this duo is, that, you know, the One Punch Man story is such a great blend of comedy mixed with action and never feels stale, and the art looks absolutely gorgeous. Like, this is a recipe for success beyond belief, on top of the fact that all you gotta do is make a season that is exciting and merchandise is gonna fly off the shelves, because One Punch Man has already a fan base. Like, there's clearly people that are really excited for this project. So make something epic, get people excited about it, there you go, revenue galore. So it really makes me wonder just higher ups and where their mindset is at. It's almost as if because this duo is so freaking incredibly talented and creates such greatness, that is like, bruh, is this, you know what I'm saying, punishment to the creatives and the fandom for something being so good? But again, that's just my train of thought while thinking of this. Let me know how you feel about One Punch Man thus far. If you are actually in support of this season, let me know what you think. What are some of the bright spots? If you are absolutely enraged and hating on it, I guess I want to throw in like, yo, just chill out, like. But yeah, that's my stance on One Punch Man season 3 thus far, and that's the criticism that the fandom has towards One Punch Man. Moving forward, on a more brighter note, we got some camaraderie and in general love, and I guess, you know, just another tribute, so to speak, in terms of from the creator of One Piece, Eiichiro Oda, and him speaking on the late great legend Akira Toriyama, the original creator of Dragon Ball. In a new interview, Eiichiro Oda admired Akira Toriyama, calling him deeply important to his life and work. The existence of Toriyama sensei is greater to me than anything else. I had never seen anyone who could draw so well, and I was captivated at first sight. Of course, I was also influenced by many other artists I discovered after Toriyama sensei, and they all helped shape who I am today. But when it comes to art, the influence of Toriyama sensei is by far the greatest. The reason I submitted to Shonen Jump's Newcomer Award was purely because I wanted to go to the place where Akira Toriyama was. Not once did I ever consider applying anywhere other than Jump. Again, Eiichiro Oda, creator of One Piece, and that just shows the love and bond, admiration that he has, in general, everything that Akira Toriyama brought forth to inspiring Eiichiro Oda. You can throw a massive argument based on everything that he's saying, that if there is no Dragon Ball, there is no One Piece. If there is no Toriyama's rise of epicness and greatness, there is no Eiichiro Oda coming through and doing everything that One Piece has done, sustaining the anime and manga industry as it stands right now. Like, honestly, this is just another testament to the fact that, if you ever heard the quote, it's just so valid, of one of the highest acts a human can possibly contribute is to inspire. And Akira Toriyama's inspiration is one of the things that guided Eiichiro Oda to where he ultimately went and where he's at right now. And I really just appreciate how they're keeping Toriyama's legacy alive and well. Like, they're not just letting him be forgotten. It's already been almost 2 years now since that happened, and people are still giving praise, paying respects, and ultimately showcasing their love and admiration towards the legend that created Dragon Ball. And from what I've heard in the world of Dragon Ball, apparently in November, there's a massive thing happening with the first official Dragon Ball store to open. Dragon Ball Store Tokyo, the world's first Dragon Ball specialty store, opens Friday, November 14th on the first floor of Tokyo Station, Ichiban Street. So another very big deal. And again, all of this showcases again, like, yo, having somebody that inspires you, having a level of love and admiration for somebody, it just can take you a long way. So honestly, be a good person, inspire people, and you never know what could happen in this world. You could be the next Eiichiro Oda, you could be the next Akira Toriyama. Never doubt yourself. And I just want to throw it, I mean that in all respects, not just as like a manga creator, in whatever field or anything that you're passionate about. Like, you can do it. Just believe in yourself and find somebody that inspires you. Moving forward, Demon Slayer fans, yet again we have absolute epicness and greatness incoming, because apparently Demon Slayer has done something yet again with Infinity Castle. It is already the highest grossing anime film in the US. It is already the highest grossing film, for that matter, of all time in Japan, and now it broke one more record. Apparently Demon Slayer Infinity Castle has officially become the highest grossing international movie of all time time at the US box office for 128,637,000. I want to throw in that wow. That number right there, never thought I would see something like that. Going back to the days of, like, you know, the first Pokemon movie coming out and the lines going around the block and stuff like that. You never would have thought or even imagined that anime could do it again and surpass even something like that. To surpass the 120 million mark with Demon Slayer, people will be underestimating what Demon Slayer really is in terms of how much it's loved, how popular it is, and just in general what it really represents. A new day in Japan. Honestly, it represents a new and better life, for that matter, for anime and manga alike, because it's honestly hope for anime to kind of do different things and explode in different avenues in terms of popularity and success. Coming from the days of like everything and everybody hoping for the next Dragon Ball, like, you know, we need the next Dragon Ball, and then we had the Big Three era, then, oh well, we need the next Naruto, and then we had the Black Clover and My Hero Academia era, oh we need the next that, and then Demon Slayer came and kind of put all of that to rest and was just like, make something really awesome with a great story and make a really awesome anime out of it, and bam. But yeah, international movie of all time. That means not only anime films, but in general, any international film that's ever come out. So Demon Slayer is like at the top of the top. So demonstrates to me personally, at some given point, there's going to be Demon Slayer sequels, whether it be just straight up films or whatever the case may be. I would be really surprised if they never do anything ever again with the Demon Slayer franchise after these films, considering, like, I know they're gonna go for all those other things, but as far as like new stories in the world of Demon Slayer, whether it be in that period in between the end or after the end of Demon Slayer, whatever it is, they're gonna do it. There's way too much right here. It's like, unless they go the Attack on Titan route, yeah, Demon Slayer is going to be going for a very, very long time, because like Japan has been waiting, I guess I would argue, since One Piece, of like, yo, when is One Piece going to be able to rest and stop holding the manga industry and the anime industry? Demon Slayer is here to kind of fill that void whenever One Piece ends. If One Piece ended tomorrow and Demon Slayer started up a new manga, Demon Slayer will be inevitably the successor to holding up the manga industry until the next generation could come. And speaking of this right here, I want to very much so add a disclaimer, is only the Japanese numbers. Does not include worldwide stuff, because worldwide you would see that One Piece, for example's numbers are very much higher. Like, all of this is just strictly about Japan, because apparently Demon Slayer manga sales have skyrocketed, making it the second highest Shonen Jump manga in Japan, just behind One Piece. According to a recent weekly Shonen Jump data graph, here's the top 10 most sold manga in Japan as of October 2025. Again, let me put in there that only Japan, because at number one, sitting at number one, is One Piece with 430 million, close to 600 million at this point worldwide, which kind of also showcases that One Piece's majority of its success is indeed at its home base in Japan, but outside it is very successful as well, because that's still 170 or close to 170 million outside of Japan. But yeah, going from the bottom up, Kinnikuman 85 mil, Bleach 90 mil, Jujutsu Kaisen 100 mil, JoJo's 100 mil, Slam Dunk 120, Naruto 153, Kochikami 156, Dragon Ball at number 3 160, Demon Slayer surpassing Dragon Ball in Japan 164. Still a long ways off from One Piece, but at the pace that it's going, and again, if Demon Slayer gets some sort of sequel series and it's still just called Demon Slayer and it counts in that bundle, that would go, it could catch up to One Piece. And again, these are the things that is like, you never thought you'd see the day that anything would surpass Dragon Ball. Like, you just didn't. Outside of One Piece that has already done that quite some time ago, you never thought it would happen in the anime and manga industry, with a lot of these newcomers coming in and showcasing like, yo, there's hope for the future. Things can actually go above and beyond. But of course, with success comes haters. Haters gon' hate. And even though I'm gonna throw the argument that this quote came in just kind of like a, you know, more comedic route, but ultimately with the success of Demon Slayer stopping a recent film that came out from the very much so critically acclaimed Marlon Wayans, homie had this to say about anime, because he basically says, F anime, after Demon Slayer beat his movie at the box office. And I've seen some people kind of taking it for the most part what it is. It's just basically kind of tongue-in-cheek, like, yo, F anime, you know, who cares about that? Because essentially, like, his project was beaten out by Demon Slayer. Not anything to rage over, like, how dare you, like, homie is a comedian and he just said it in jest. It's not something to be like, yo, what's going on? So yeah, haters gonna hate, but he kind of has a reason, yo. He put a lot into that recent film that he put out, so call me some slack. Solo Leveling fans, after the success of season 2 of the Solo Leveling anime, a lot of people have become familiar with it, and it also opened a lot of doors for kind of the Korean market for just in general storytelling, especially within this medium, because prior to that, a lot of those stories that were coming out of Korea really weren't going to the levels that you thought it would have, whether it be the God of High School, the Tower of God. There was quite a few stories that tried to make it happen and ultimately didn't do what Solo Leveling did. It kicked down a lot of doors. And in case you didn't know, because yeah, Solo Leveling, while it's been adapting the original story or whatnot, there was a sequel series that's been out for quite some time that I think that even came to a close, and then there's supposedly a sequel to that sequel. Honestly, it's been a lot. The original creator of Solo Leveling, he's kind of, well, you could be the judge and you take what he's saying regarding this Solo Leveling sequel as, well, let's read and you'll understand. Solo Leveling creator shares promising update on a sequel. Long before its anime debut in 2024, Solo Leveling was already one of the most globally famous series as a web novel and manhwa, amassing billions of views and creating a cultural phenomenon, so it goes without saying that the anime would also be a smashing hit. First 2 seasons released 24-25 broke streaming records, Crunchyroll further skyrocketing the franchise's popularity. First season even dominated Crunchyroll awards this year thanks to public votes, which I want to throw in there that as far as the judges go, I'm just saying, if you ever want a credible source of a judge, you know what I'm saying, for these events, I'll be here for it. You know, pick Tim. The second season has only adapted the story up to the Jeju Island arc, and things will only get more intense in the third season. Chugong gave an interview to Lit Ritz, the largest digital and audiobook service in Russia, and talked about the series ending as well as Ragnarok, aka Ragnarok is the current sequel to Solo Leveling, which I want to say is about Jinwoo's son, something like that. On X, a famous fan account shared an English translation of the original interview where we learned that the author was asked about the continuation of the story in Ragnarok. However, Jugong shared, Ragnarok was a spin-off created for fan service. I was curious to see how another author would write Solo Leveling. This story is part of the Solo Leveling universe, but it isn't a direct continuation of the main plot. It's more like Marvel's parallel universes. And I'm gonna throw in right there that that's not the greatest thing to read, and it also kind of takes some credibility away from future works from this creator, because if there's a wide variety of fans that have supported this work, because I think that this Ragnarok story is like very deep in with a lot of chapters and whatnot, like there's a lot of stuff to this Ragnarok story, and fans that have been following this Ragnarok story, if you're going to discredit it by saying, yeah, oh no, it's a possibility, especially while it's still, you know, fresh on people's minds. Again, I don't know if there's a sequel to that sequel, but it just wrapped up its first part, or wrapped itself up. And for him to kind of basically disown it in a way, you would argue, and say like pretty much what Daima is doing with GT and stuff like that in a way, or how Super did GT, except when Super and that did that to GT, it was already like far removed, a decade plus. Like this is just, again, Ragnarok part 1 or whatever just recently finished. Gonna make people look at the future of whatever Chugong has to offer as, well, is he going to say in 15 years that, oh, this is another random what if story? That would be the equivalent to the creator of Naruto coming out and saying like, yo, Ikemoto been cooking and all that, but yeah, Boruto is just a what if story. It's like, you know, I just wanted to see what Ikemoto can do on his own, but that's not really the continuation to Naruto. While I'm sure some Boruto haters would rejoice, ultimately it would be a big blow to the credibility of Masashi Kishimoto. So definitely a lot of people probably are going to look at Chugong from this moment forward as like, all right, when you come with your next thing, maybe we should be leery about it because we don't know what you're going to do as far as the canon and continuity. Because I got to imagine the creator of the spin-off Ragnarok probably put a lot of time, effort, and all sorts of stuff to making this thing happen, and for Chugong to kind of just disavow it. The author also added, and of course, I'm also considering the possibility of writing a sequel myself. Ragnarok follows Jinwoo's son Suho, whose powers were initially sealed but later resurfaced, and now he must face new challenges from cosmic beings to keep the world safe. The story continued in such a way that it was believed to be an official sequel, despite not being written by the original novel's author. While Chugong is considering the possibility of writing a sequel, nothing's set in stone. However, since the author is open about it, we may get an official announcement in a few months or even years. Like I gave you the comparison of the Boruto situation, the Dragon Ball situation. Like, bruh, you let homie cook. Y'all announced it, marketed it, and pushed it for years upon years as the Solo Leveling sequel, only for you to say, nah, I let my homie cook. That's not my thing, bro. Like, what? Moving forward, a series that sometimes I do talk about, despite the fact that, yes, it's not technically anime, but it is very much so an epic type of story, Invincible. Because in case you don't know, we recently got a little teaser trailer alongside a release date for Invincible Season 4. And y'all know, in case you don't, because I've covered the series a few times on the channel, I am so here for it, because March 2026 Invincible Season 4 will be debuting, and we got this really awesome piece that, yeah, I love how meta it is. The conversation between Eve and Mark, like, that was just done very, very well. The humor in it and kind of poking fun at Mark's battle with Conquest and all that, like, it was just great. And yeah, I can't wait for Season 4 of Invincible. Like, that's gonna be so epic. They even, I think, teased the character design for the next major threat. And I'm not even gonna lie, from everything I've heard from people and from what I've seen bits and pieces of, this guy is no joke. I'll probably have an image some here on the screen so you can see who he is. But yeah, I'm curious how the heck, because we know that Mark be going through it when he be battling some of these people. His battle against Conquest was insane. And to hear that this dude is even stronger than Conquest and Nolan. Could Conquest, Mark, and Nolan all together, if they somehow work together and Conquest was like, all right, bro, I'm gonna work with y'all, could the three of them take this dude out? Just a random question on my mind. Because again, people are hyping this dude up. I don't know if he's the end game boss, if he's the, you know, leader of this whole story in general, because we know from the Viltrumite seemingly that this dude is the head honcho of it all. But yeah, I'm curious how this whole thing is going to work out. And in general, quite a few more seasons to go for this thing. And hopefully the art and animation, because you know how the fans is going to be, is up to par for the most part. Although, like, I think there was a big thing about Season 3's art and animation, whatever. Yeah. And on a side note, I thought it was humorous, so I'm going to bring it to you guys. Robert Kirkman, the creator of Invincible, says Omni-Man would easily take down Superman, and says Superman sucks. And like, bruh, for a creator of one thing to say that of another, I'm gonna take that as, again, something tongue-in-cheek, making a headline, because he knows at the end of the day, you say something like that, that's gonna be the headline everywhere. Robert Kirkman says Superman sucks. Like, that's just how things go. And to be honest with you, from what I've been learned for quite some time about what Superman, the strongest version of Superman, can do, Omni-Man would have a pretty long day against Superman. So Robert Kirkman is probably just using that as a tool to, well, first of all, say something funny and kind of meta in a way. Is like, my OC is better than Superman's, but also, again, it's a great promo tool. A lot of people are going to look forward to it. Superman's legacy is very much so long standing. Homie's been around a long time. Invincible, it's great, it's awesome, but it's a newcomer, so yeah. Black Clover fans, I got a little piece of news for you guys. Very much so exciting. We're going to have some advancement within the story of Black Clover, because the next Jump Giga will be releasing this month, because Black Clover will publish 3 new chapters with 61 pages total and receive lead color page in Jump Giga 2025 Autumn Edition. This issue will be released October 30th, 2025. So by the end of this month, we will have 3 more Black Clover chapters, and I'm just really curious at this point how much more until Black Clover wraps itself up, the manga, because the anime, depending on how they do things, it's going to be around for a bit, but the manga itself is probably getting close at the very least to wrapping things up. Like, there's really only one major battle that needs to be resolved, and then everything else will get resolved. Like, once you finish off the main villain that has kind of been in the midst of things for quite some time, then everything else will follow suit. So I'm curious, like, does Black Clover have another issue or two? If it was like that this was going to be the final chapters, they would have announced something like that. But I got to imagine that Black Clover probably will wrap itself up early next year, if not by, well, could do that 2-month thing where maybe in December we get another, or more than likely it'll be January. So Black Clover's manga could end early in next year, and honestly, I wouldn't be mad at it, and I'd be here for it, because again, now that we got the anime coming back, even if Tabata decided that he wanted to do a sequel series, like, the original manga itself and the goal that we have right now of becoming Wizard King can totally come to a close. Honestly, a Black Clover sequel would be very much so welcomed, especially if it's released in this fashion. Fans would love it and support it, whether it be that it's a time skip with Asta as Wizard King and Yuno as Wizard King of, like, you know, his homeland, or whatever the case may be. Like, fans would totally be here for that too. But the story as it stands right now, considering most of Black Clover's contemporaries have already wrapped up their original series and are heading towards their next big thing, Tabata probably sooner than later should wrap this thing up, get Asta to becoming Wizard King, and then, yeah, we move accordingly. But another 3 chapters, 61 more pages, so Tabata's cooking like, you would argue, maybe about a chapter a month. So pretty much it's almost as if Black Clover is a monthly release, but instead of getting it each month, you're getting it all in one go. And the chapter preview says, entrusted with his comrades' feelings, Asta rises again with a roar. So I'm definitely here for it, and we'll see what happens with Black Clover with this next release. Honestly, I think the current battle against the main villain with Yuno probably should wrap itself up, and we should start the final and the ultimate climax of Asta with the final dude. Trying to be as spoiler free as I possibly can, you know, I try to look out for the people that are anime only, okay? But that's all I have for this one. I'm Tim. As always, people, have an awesome day. Peace in.